We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
We've got one question left over from last week, and that is Karl. Karl says now that he has his JVC X750 projector, he wants to know, is there an Ultra HD setup disc that help him dial in his user settings?
Not yet.
No. There is, I think Joe Kane's got some sort of something that you can put through a PC or maybe put on into a USB stick, but it's like it's pricey. And it's kind of a pro version. There is some talk.
I know that Samsung developed one specifically for their trade show stuff, but it's not something that consumers can get a hold of.
I have heard that there are some test images or maybe stuff like that that are hidden on Sony Ultra HD Blu-ray discs.
Huh.
But I don't know what they are, and of course I have never seen them or tested them.
Right.
So there is no setup disc. I mean, really,
honestly though, what a lot of pro calibrators are doing right now is they're sticking with calibrating a standard dynamic range Rec 709 color setting. So for that, you can still just use the Blu-ray setup disc, the Spears and Munsell or Digital Video Essentials. For that part, and then for HDR, largely even professional calibrators are kind of just leaving it alone. They're like making sure that if there are different HDR settings that they're going for the HDR standard setting, because a lot of them offer like an HDR vivid mode and you don't want to use that. That might be the default. But other than switching it to like the HDR standard mode, that's about what most pro calibrators are doing at this point. Because
I did read up a little bit on this, and it does sound like it's going to be kind of for the next foreseeable future, at least a couple of years, I'm guessing, until we kind of shake out what displays can actually do and all that. There's not going to be a lot of calibrating of the HDR part of it. I think there'll be measuring of you shouldn't. There's going to be measuring of what it does, but you're going to calibrate the grayscale. You're going to calibrate the brightness and the contrast and do some color correction, within the normal stuff. But then everything else is just going to be essentially the TV is going to know what or the display itself is going to know what to do.
Because there's all this tone mapping going on. I mean, nothing is actually showing Rec 2020 color. That's the container being used. That means it has to tone map that down to the colors it can show. Nothing can show 4,000 or 10,000 nits yet, so it has to tone map that down. So it's tone mapping it down to what the TV can show. So there is no real way to calibrate that. You can confirm what it's doing. But so I
think they'll be measuring and that sort of thing, but not.
They're basically just making sure the gray scale is actually tracking gray, and that for 0 to 100 nits, it's actually tracking the correct electro-optical transfer function. But so far, pretty much all the TVs out there have done a good job of that in their default mode, so there hasn't been a need to really calibrate the HDR side of things.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens in the future. I mean, I can envision a world where there is, if you have this TV, then it can do this amount, and therefore you can use these specific images or these test patterns in order to do some measurements and or calibration.
It really seems like you need to get CalMan and a proper meter though to do it.
Because, It's not going to be something you'll be able to do
by eye.
I don't think so. All right. He says I forgot who we're talking about. Is it Ken? Karl. Karl. His receiver is a Denon AVR X7200WA. He asks, can he send his Ultra HD Blu-ray player's HDMI output through his receiver, or should he send the video directly to his JVC projector and send the audio separately to the with the second HDMI output?
You have the magic letter on the end of that there, which is the WA, which signifies that you do have HDMI 2.0A with HDCP 2.2. If it was an X7200W, that was prior to that upgrade. So you have the magical letter A on the end there. I'll trust that you have that correct. And that being the case, you should be able to pass through the signals just fine. It should pass HDR10. It's a projector, so we're not worrying about Dolby Vision at all. And so
but if he just has the W, can't he contact Denon and have them upgrade it?
Have it upgraded. But if it were the W, you would have to physically send it into Denon for the hardware upgrade. But yeah, one HDMI cable from your Ultra HD Blu-ray player into your AV receiver, and then the output from your AV receiver to your projector. That will work.
Yeah, so if you send that receiver in, though, just don't expect a real quick... I mean, you may get a real quick turnaround time, but...
Should by now. They shouldn't have much of a backlog left anymore.
They shouldn't, but, you know, I would just prepare yourself mentally to be without a receiver.
But no, if you bought it and it had A on the box, WA on the box, then you're good to go. You're done.
Okay. He says he needs a projector mount with a 16-inch extension. Do we have any suggestions? Let me see. Where are all the mount companies I know of that are good? There is Chief.
Yes.
Chief mounts are good. Does Sanus make projector mounts too?
They do.
Don't, do they?
Yeah, they
do. They?
Sanus does, yeah.
Sanus
I mean, they're sister companies. Chief and Sanus are sister companies.
Yeah. They're always right next to each other at the trade shows too. And there's a couple. I'm trying to remember. I can't even remember what projector mount I used to use. Now that I use a shelf, but I used to use projector mount. So
we want to keep in mind he's using an X750 that is, first of all, a very nice and expensive projector, but it's also quite a heavy and large projector. I wouldn't skimp. This isn't a time when I would skimp. If I'm buying a BenQ projector, I'm like, absolutely just go to Monoprice, get the cheapest one they have, you'll be fine. Those are small, light projectors. It's fine. But here, I'd recommend doing something that is definitely rated for the weight. Tom mentioned Chief. Those pretty much get the best ratings all around from every installer ever, but you'll pay a premium for it. It's about $160 for their RPAU universal mount. But that one can hold 55 pounds, no problem. The projector is 35 pounds, so shouldn't be any issue, and really, really highly rated. I do like the one that Peerless has, though, because Peerless's is about $100, and that's their PRG universal. I like the Peerless. It has the little worm gear adjustments. So really easy to do really fine adjustments. Like if you want to get it pixel perfect on your screen, I like having that worm gear adjustment from the Peerless, and it's less expensive. So now he says he needs the 16-inch extension. That means you will need a ceiling plate. No, those are inexpensive. Those are like $15-20, even the name brand ones. So the ceiling plate's not much. Then for the extension tube, if you go with either the Peerless or the Chief that we've just mentioned, we'll have links to those at avrant.com. Those use the standard 1.5-inch diameter pipe with the standard threading. So you could just go to a hardware store, get any 1.5-inch diameter steel tubing, and ask them to put the standard threading on there. That will work. Peerless does, of course, sell their own adjustable extension tubes of various lengths, but you kind of pay an odd premium for that. It's like $50 just for the tube. Doesn't really seem worth it. If you go over to Mounts Direct, they have like an extension tube which is rated for like 300 pounds because it's just a piece of steel. So that's like $15 over there. So if you want one that's pre-made and already threaded and adjustable so that you can, choose how long it is, I would kind of maybe just substitute the one from Mounts Direct because it's all standard stuff. Now, Silver Ticket, they do sell projector mounts. They have like a $25 one that's extendable, but I'm a little wary of that because they described it like, oh, it's great for like the larger projectors like the Epsons. I'm like, the Epsons are under 20 pounds.
I was going to say, that's not very big.
Yeah, if they're calling that larger, then I'm a little bit wary to put a 35-pounder on there. So to me, I'd stick with the Peerless or the Chief. I'm sure the Sanus ones are fine too, but those are the two I know and trust completely. You do pay a premium, but I think it's worth it. $100 for a $7,000 projector, not too crazy.
Yeah. All right, lastly, one of Karl's students caught the home theater bug. He'd like a powered screen with a remote for under $1,000. Mm-hmm. He's looking for 110 inches or so, most likely. Apparently, he saw Karl's screen, which also has masking, and he really liked that. But Karl, this whole thing is very hard for me to read because he's students, and his students saw his projections, his home theater screen, and now I'm like, I got all these sort of like, oh, teacher, well, can I see your projector screen thing going on? So, but it's probably nothing like that. But for whatever reason, it just went there for me.
I really
so I'm sorry,
don't think
Karl.
That's the situation. But
I don't think it is either. I'm just saying that's what was that movie like back in the day, the Substitute movie, whatever it was. I can't remember what it was. that was a really good movie. I mean, it was terrible. It was an awful movie, but I was very young. All right, it also has masking. Really, Karl was thinking within this budget, masking probably isn't an option, right? You, sir, are correct. It is not an option. No, you cannot get a roll down screen. Listen, I researched it, and this was a while ago. So there is the options and screens today are much cheaper than when I first started getting into this thing, where screens were like, if you got a screen for $2,000, you got a deal. That was a good deal. Nowadays, you can get a screen for a couple $100. I mean, the one I've got behind me right now, this white screen that's behind me right now, is like $130 or something. Yeah. I mean, of course, it's fixed frame and all that, but still, back then, $2,000 for fixed frame wasn't so bad either. So, under $1,000 for a roll down tab tension screen is possible. Masking is not that I'm aware of in any way, shape, or form. And if it was, it would be like the world's worst masking. You know what I mean?
Like Seymour AV, as far as a roll-down screen that also has motorized masking, Seymour AV is probably your best bet, but it's definitely not under $1,000. It's
literally it is cheaper. Cheaper to buy 2 screens.
Right. Yes.
And this is honestly the truth. You could buy 200-inch screens.
Yeah.
That are the sizes that you want for less than buying a screen with a motorized roll down thing. So
I'll point you over to Elite Screens. Right now it's their Saker tab tensioned. That happens to be the name they're going with right now. They change it around sometimes, but the Saker tab tension screens, they come with both an infrared and radio frequency remote, so either way you want to go, it'll work with either. They have 110-inch size, the standard 1.1 gain max white screen material, which is absolutely fine. And directly from Elite, it's like $800 for that size. So it's under $1,000, motorized, tab tensioned, nice screen.
Yeah, so Elite Screens Effervescent. I don't know what the hell. It's a stupid name. Anyways, it's tab tensioned 110-inch 16:9 recessed ceiling electric projection screen. There's only one left right now at Amazon, but that's $716.
Sure.
At Amazon. You can get, actually, if you don't want the recessed version, there's a 100-inch one. It does say tab tension for $400. From Amazon, I guess. That doesn't sound right. Anyways.
No, they've had various models throughout the years, so yeah.
Yeah, so you can take a look at, just go to Amazon, and that'd be your way to go there. And literally, okay, now if you do get two screens, like if he decided he wanted to have, instead of masking, 2 screens, which would work.
Yep.
That would work just fine. You're going to run into issues with how to get the right one to roll down at the right time if you get them from the same manufacturer. If you get them from different manufacturers, it's totally okay. One of the ways you can get around that is you would need some sort of either direct IR control, meaning you actually put the IR control thing right over the IR receiver in the screen, in the screen, and then make sure that it's only firing into that receiver, and then you would have to program the output of the hub, like the Harmony hub, to make sure that it's only going to that one, or you have to get 2 different brands.
Or you could use the hard switch that you actually mount on the wall or something like that.
That would be the easiest way to do it, is just use the hard switch. So. Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.